Recently, I was asked by a friend in Slovakia, what exactly makes Britain great? It was at the time of the referendum for Scottish independence, and knowing that I am half English and half Scottish, and no doubt playing on the words of Great Britain, the question was asked partly tongue-in-cheek, but nonetheless it got me thinking. What is so great about being British? Well, I dare say our history plays a big part, as does our sense of humour, and of course our great contribution to the world of music and sport. There is no doubt that we as a nation have achieved an incredible amount for such a small island. But, having thought about it long and hard, the one overriding thing for me that really does make it great to be British is the fact that English is my mother tongue. I am blessed, in the same way as my American, Canadian, Australian, New Zealand and Irish cousins all are, and all the people from Jamaica, Nigeria, South Africa and Singapore, and all the other 430 million people on our planet who are lucky enough to have English as their first language. Now, the fact that you have spent the money to purchase this course means that you are already well aware why it is important in today's world to be fluent in English, and why you are determined that your children will grow up to be fluent English speakers. Perhaps you're an expat like me and want your children to be able to perfectly communicate with your family back home in your native tongue. Or perhaps you're not an English-speaking native, but you have worked hard to learn English fluently, or at least to a good working knowledge, and recognize how important it is that your children become fluent in English. I don't have to remind you how being fluent in English will help their job prospects, for example, and yes, that is of course very important, but it is actually just one of many reasons why having perfect English will be so important in their lives, both now and in the future. My daughters are already seeing the benefit of being fluent in English. One thing that is coming in incredibly handy at the moment is their ability to research their weekly school projects in English. Their native tongue is Slovak, as we live in Slovakia, which is a wonderful little country of 5 million in the heart of Europe. And if anyone is interested, I've put a link to my book about living in Slovakia within the supplementary materials. Now, one of the advantages of knowing Slovak is that you pretty much automatically can read and understand Czech as well. The Czech Republic has 10 million inhabitants, so the two countries of Czech and Slovakia together have a total population of about 15 million people. So why is the population of these Central European countries relevant? Well, it is basically to emphasize how in world terms there is relatively few Czech and Slovak speakers on the planet. Therefore, there are even fewer capable of producing texts, papers, reports, and other information about history, geography, natural sciences, etc., from which my daughters can research online to help them when working on their school projects. Let's double the number of Czech and Slovak speakers to account for the other Czechs and Slovaks around the world, and we have a basis of about 30 million. Let's compare that to the number of native English speakers around the world. As we mentioned in Lecture 1, there is an estimated 430 million native speakers of English, which is second only to Mandarin Chinese in terms of native speakers. However, that doesn't even begin to tell the story of how many people around the world have fluent enough English to be able to write about topics to some level and produce materials which can then be accessed online or in a physical format. This estimate is said to be around the 1.2 billion mark. I shall say that again, 1.2 billion. There are some very interesting facts and figures about how many people speak English as their first language and how many speak it as an additional language, and I've included some links for you to read for yourself in the supplementary material. So let's compare the potential Czech and Slovak sources of information, 30 million, to the potential English sources of information, 1.2 billion. Can you see now why my daughters only ever research their projects in English? Okay, I know that this is not an exact science by any stretch of the imagination, and I know you'll be thinking to yourself, hey, David's talking about two smallish nations in Europe. What about Spanish, French, and German, etc.? Well, yes, point taken. But the truth is, English is the world language. It is the lingua franca of the modern era. Where English is not spoken as a first or an additional language, it is almost always learnt as a foreign language in the school curricula of these countries. English is the official language of the United Nations and many other international organisations, including the International Olympic Committee. And it is the unofficial language of the Internet. So no matter what language your mother tongue is, your children will always be able to benefit from researching their homework in English. And hey, that's just the boring stuff. What about the social and entertainment side of being fluent in English? My girls love the fact that they can tell all their friends the latest gossip about One Direction and their other favourite bands, who are all either British or American. They love going to the cinema and seeing films in their original languages, and actually complain when a film is dubbed in Czech or Slovak and a voice actor is trying to take on the role of a Hollywood great. They love that they can play games in English, listen to music in English and get the meaning out of every song. They love how they can read books in English, send fan mail to their favourite teenage actors, and get replies in English. Meanwhile, my wife and I love the fact that we will be able to send our children to the second top school in the country when they are older, whose lessons are all in English. And hopefully one day go to a top university. I hope you are convinced of why your child needs to speak English, and in the next lecture we shall actually look at why they need to begin learning English now.